Hello, it's happy to meet all of you. For those of you who are here, and those of you who will hear the recording or view the recording, it's a pleasure to be here with you. So we invite you to pay attention, to listen, and to learn. And before we go any further, I ask you to bow your heads with me as we pray. Dear God, thank you for being eternal, patient, loving, kind, generous, and wise. Thank you for Jesus, and thank you for the Holy Spirit. And we ask for wisdom in the presence and the power of your Holy Spirit, that the people who are listening will hear and see what you want them to hear, and will be willing to change their lives so that they can enjoy better life and health, and come to know you better, and to spend eternity with you. Thank you for answering my request, which is made in Jesus' name. May His will be done. Amen. So our subject at this time is protein. And I've mentioned before to you that we have 5 children, and they were raised on a plant-based diet. So I'm going to show you a picture.
It's okay, continue.
Okay, so you edit out that part? Or we just, anyhow. So we're going to talk about protein. I've mentioned to you before that we have 5 children, and they were raised on a plant-based diet. No meat or fish or chicken. Now this picture was taken 32 years ago when my son, the one with the cap and gown, graduated from medical school, okay? Now here's another picture that's a little bit newer, but this one was taken 12 years ago. And this is at the time when my youngest son got married. So this picture is 12 years old, okay? But they were all raised on a vegetarian diet. And you please know that my oldest son on the right is 6 foot 3 inches tall. That's 1.9 meters tall. And my daughter is 5 feet 7 inches tall. And that's what, 1.7 meters, okay? So they grow taller, they make better grades in school, and they are healthy. Okay, we're going to talk about protein. When you think about protein, this is what you usually think about. And that very definitely is protein. But the question is that the most healthful source of protein? And the answer is definitely it is not the most healthful source of protein. It's most commonly considered protein by people, but definitely not the most healthful. So as we talked at this time, you're going to learn what protein is, how much you need, best sources for protein, and you will also learn about amino acids, essential amino acids, okay? So there's some more protein, but not the best source. Now, what happens if you get too much protein? Are there problems? Yes, there are. We'll talk about that. Are there complete proteins and incomplete proteins? Yes, and we'll talk about that. And they also talk about complementary protein. So again, this is what people think of when they think of protein, and I definitely don't recommend that. And I haven't eaten that kind of protein for more than 50 years. So, protein is different from carbohydrates, okay? Carbohydrates have C, carbon, H, hydrogen, and O, oxygen. But protein has another element in it called nitrogen. So, protein has carbohydrates, has carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and in addition, it also has nitrogen. Okay, and these are arranged into what we call amino acids. There again is some more of animal protein, okay? Now, why do you need protein? Well, protein, when you eat protein, it's broken down by your body into amino acids, okay? It's to supply the amino acids, and then our body takes these amino acids and makes them into our own proteins to make up your muscles and things like that, okay? There are 22 amino acids. There are 9 that are called essential because they must be in the food that you eat. And the others they say are non-essential, but they must be made by your body from the food that you eat. So 9 have to be found in the food that you eat. Your body will make the other 13. So there's some more protein. All of these pictures of the meat were taken in England, and they were taken in, I think, in Harrods department store, okay? Now, we talked about heart disease earlier today, and your heart doctors say you need to eat fish and chicken for a healthy heart. That is not true. You need a vegan diet for a healthy heart. There's some more fish, okay? Now, Murder Burger. That was the name of a restaurant in a city in California called Davis. So that's a hamburger, okay? And here are your essential amino acids. These are the ones that you have to find in the food that you eat. Histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, and valine. Those must be in the foods that you eat. Your body cannot make those, okay? So, when we analyze or look at foods, we make a graph and shows how much of that amino acid is in the food. And the one that has the lowest amount is called the limiting amino acid, okay? And a protein that contains all of the essential amino acids is adequate for people to use and is necessary for normal growth. You've got to have all the essential amino acids for a person to grow, for a baby and for a human to grow normally and have good health. So your food should supply all of the amino acids that you need. We'll talk about it. In grains, fruits, vegetables, and nuts are to be found all of the food elements, or we could say the essential amino acids that you need. You don't need to have meat, fish, chicken, eggs, or milk. You can get your amino acids from legumes, beans, lentils, chickpeas, garbanzos, soybeans, things like this, dal, and from cereal grains, millet, rice, wheat, barley, oats, triticale. That's where you can get the food that you need. So, why do you need protein? You need protein for normal growth, the upkeep of the tissues, your hair, the skin, and so on. You need it to rebuild the body, regulatory function in cells, and you need protein for milk formation in a mother that is nursing a baby. And the least important function of protein is for energy. We talked about carbohydrates in another talk. carbohydrates are what you need for energy. Now, way back in the 1800s, there were some German doctors, Dr. Liebig and Dr. Voigt and others. They were trying to find out how much protein a person needs to be healthy. And they looked at the muscles and they found that the muscles were largely protein, and that your muscle strength depends on the amount of protein you eat. So when they started looking at people, they figured at that time that you needed 120 grams, or approximately 4 ounces of protein a day. And this is back in the 1800s. Okay. Since that time, the amount of protein required has come down. So in 1860, these scientists said you needed 120 grams of protein. 1900, they found out, they figured you could get by with 60 grams of protein. In 1930, another doctor did some research. He found you could get by with 40 grams of protein. 1920, another doctor found out you could get by with even less, 35 grams. In 1955, they found out you could get along with 25 and 20 grams of protein. So you really don't need much protein at all. For example, a slice of bread has 3 grams of protein. So, you know, if you have 100 grams of tofu, you've got 8 grams of protein. So it's very easy to get your protein. In rice, there's protein. In millet, there's protein. Okay? So now the Nutrition Board, they said, well, we need to calculate how much protein to recommend for people. So they changed from 1941, they said men needed 70 grams of protein, but by 1980, they decreased it to 56. Women from 60 down to 44. But remember I told you, you can get by with as little as 20. So that's more than twice as much as you really need. So you're going to have plenty of protein, no problem. So the World Health Organization said you need 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. So they recommend approximately 50 grams of protein. So that's still 2.5 times as much as you need. Because remember I told you, you can get by with as little as 20 grams of protein. So if you eat a variety of natural, that's plant foods, enough to keep your weight up, it's impossible, virtually impossible, to have a protein deficient diet. Eat enough plant foods to maintain your weight, you know, variety of plant foods, you're going to get enough protein. There's no way you can end up protein deficient. So neither man nor animals can synthesize the essential amino acids. They must be found in the plants. Now, if you eat meat, fish, and chicken, you're getting your amino acids secondhand. If you want used food or new food, you rather have a new car or a used car. Well, if you want new protein, you eat plants. If you want used protein, you can eat meat, fish, and chicken. So it's up to you, new or used. So plants are the source of all protein. You know, the chickens, you know, the pigs, the cow, the sheep, they eat plants to get their protein. So if they can get protein from plants, why can't we? We can, of course. So the plant protein is equal in quality to the animal protein, and we can get plenty that we need, 2 to 3 times as much as we need. that's no problem. So there's another term we use. We talk about complementary foods, okay? Grains like millet, quinoa, rice, wheat, oats, barley, triticale, spelt. They are low in an amino acid called lysine, but they're high in an amino acid called methionine. Legumes or beans like soybeans, garbanzos, chickpeas, lentils, peas, dal, they are high in lysine and low in methionine. So when you combine a cereal grain with a legume, you've got a complete protein, no problem. So, is there a legume that has all the amino acids that you need to be called a complete protein? There is one legume that meets that requirement. The only legume that has all the essential amino acids, soybeans. So when you eat tofu, you drink soy milk, you're getting a complete protein. Now there is one cereal grain that has all the essential amino acids, and that cereal grain is called quinoa. And it's spelled Q-U-I-N-O-A. Quinoa is a complete protein. So the two foods, plant foods that are complete proteins are soybeans, and the cereal grain is quinoa. Soybeans are great, okay? Now, it's very interesting that in the different cultures and societies of the world that eat different foods, they combine a legume with a cereal grain. In Africa, in Latin America, they eat corn and beans, rice and beans. China, soybeans and rice. India, lentils and rice. In the United States, peanut butter and I hope whole wheat bread. So, here's the amount of protein that is found in different types of milk in different animals, okay? I want you to notice. Okay, and you look at this chart. This is the amount of protein in a in a liter of this milk. Human milk, horse milk, cow, goat, dog, okay? Now, you see that the animal with the highest amount of protein in their milk is what? A rat. So if you want a high protein drink, go find the rat and milk the rat. You get rat's milk, okay? Now I've never seen rat's milk for sale. But also look at something else in this chart. The higher the protein content, the faster they double their birth weight. Is that clear? So how fast does a rat double its birth weight? In 4.5 days, it doubles the birth weight. But a human doubles the birth weight in what? 4 months, 4 to 5 months. So if a human drinks cow's milk, they're getting a lot more protein than they need, plus they're getting some other things in the cow's milk that are not as desirable, okay? So, humans double their birth rate in 4 to 5 months. So I've never gone to, you go to a gym or where they sell protein foods and protein supplements, and they want you to buy their protein drink or something. So the next time you go, and they ask you to buy that, say, Do you have any rat's milk? And if they have rat's milk, ask them where they got it from. See, vegetables, a half cup of vegetables has 2 grams of protein. 12 to 15 almonds has 3 grams of protein. Peanuts, 1 ounce has 8 grams of protein. Pistachio nuts, 30 nuts, 3 grams of protein. A slice of bread, 3 grams of protein. Tofu, I told you that, 100 grams of tofu, 8 grams of protein. Soybeans, 100 grams of soybean, like edamame, 11 grams of protein. A cup of soybean milk, 8 grams of protein. So you see how easy it is to get your protein. 1 egg has 6 grams of protein. A cup of milk, 8 grams of protein. A bean burrito, 15 grams. Sardines, 100 grams of sardines, 18 grams of protein. So if you're not careful, if you eat meat and things like that, it's easy to get too much protein. Chicken, 100 grams of protein. 100 grams of chicken has 27 grams of protein. Turkey, 100 grams of turkey, 30 grams of protein. Salmon, 100 grams of salmon, 27 grams of protein. Meat, 100 grams, 24 grams of protein. So, not all proteins are equal, okay? And replacing white bread with highly processed carbohydrates with steak and butter is not the way to go. White bread is not a good, healthy food. If you want bread, you want wholemeal bread. And you want whole grain rice, okay? So, fish and chicken are better than white bread, but better would be vegetable protein such as beans, nuts, tofu, soy milk, peanut butter, dal, garbanzos and things like that. Vegetable protein is much better. Now, they looked at ladies, and they found that ladies with the highest intake of plant foods, plant protein, had a lower risk of heart disease than women who had the lowest intake of plant foods. A woman who eats 2 servings of red meat every day instead of a similar number of calories from carbohydrates would have a 44% higher risk of dying from heart disease. So again, you don't want to have red meat, okay? So they looked at dairy, looked at milk, ice cream, yogurt, and cheese, and they found that protein from red meat and dairy increases the risk for heart disease as well. So they've done research showing that protein from meat, disregarding the cholesterol and the fat, produces more plaque. You're going to get more heart disease. So you really don't want to eat meat, fish, and chicken, okay? Now, if you get too much protein, what happens? It stimulates the metabolism. Shorter lifespan, you won't live as long. More kidney disease and suppresses the immune system. Now, what do I mean by stimulating the metabolism? Well, let's look at something. How old are girls when they have their first menstrual period here in Malaysia? You ladies, how old were you and how old were your daughters when you had your first menstrual period?
12 years old. 12.
How old? 12. See? And that's because of the amount of fat and protein in their diet. if you're raised on a vegetarian diet, my daughter didn't have her first menstrual period. She was 16, almost 17. So the thing is, when a girl starts to menstruate at 12, sometimes even 11,
now
9, they can have children. You don't want children at 9 years of age. They can get pregnant, you know, and that's not good. So again, and they will also have a shorter lifespan. And with more protein, more kidney disease, suppressed immune system. And it increases the cholesterol and the fat in the blood, more loss of calcium, so you're going to have more osteoporosis, and increased risk of cancer when you get too much protein. Okay, now here they're looking at high protein diet. 2,500 older people, they had kidney disease. And they added an extra 15 grams of protein to their diet. That's not very much. You know, that would be, what, 15 grams? 5 slices of bread, you know, a little bit of meat. They added 15 grams of protein to their diet, but they increased the rate at which they died by 25% over the next 14 years. So you don't want to add extra animal protein to your diet, and you will also have more kidney disease. Now, when you eat meat, you increase the blood flow to your kidneys by 20%. But that makes the kidneys work harder. So you don't want to increase the blood flow to your kidneys that way. So people who eat meat on a regular basis will have more kidney disease. And if you have more kidney disease, we try to take the people off of their diet containing meat and give them animal protein, give them vegetable protein, soy instead. So if you eat plant protein, less likely to have kidney disease. Animal protein makes your kidneys work harder, and you know, there will be more kidney disease in people who are not vegetarians. We've had people come to the program where I worked at Weimar, and they had significant kidney disease. They had diabetes, and they were told that if they didn't get better, they were going to have to get dialysis. Well, when they went on the vegetable protein diet, like we serve, because we only have a vegetarian diet, many of them, their kidney function improved so that they didn't have to go on dialysis right away. They could delay that for several years, so that's good. Vegetarians, lower cholesterol, they have more antioxidants, less heart disease, less high cholesterol, so they do much better. Vegetarians are less likely to develop diabetes. Now, you don't need protein to have strong muscles. You need to exercise if you want to have strong muscles. And you need adequate carbohydrates, okay? Now, this was a study which showed that people on the high-fat, high-protein diet, they wanted to see how long they could ride the exercise bicycle. They had to maintain a certain speed. So on the high-fat, high-protein diet, they were able to go for 57 minutes. But on a mixed diet, not as high in fat and protein, they were able to double their time to 114 minutes. And on the high carbohydrate diet, they went almost 3 times as long. 3 times as long would have been 171 minutes. Then they measured the amount of glycogen stored in their muscle. Glycogen is the carbohydrate which is stored in the muscle. And they had the most glycogen, which supplies the energy for you to move and to do things on the high carbohydrate diet. Now, this shows that some people who are having problems with their kidneys, okay, they changed their diet to a low-protein diet. And instead of the kidney function falling off, it leveled off and got better. So they were able to stabilize their kidney disease, and it didn't continue to get worse. Now they looked at someone who had diabetes, and they had protein in their urine. Protein in their urine is not normal. If you've got protein in the urine, you've got kidney disease. So when they put them on the low-protein diet, their kidney function, the amount of protein in their urine dramatically decreased, and their kidney function improved.
Do the urine turn yellow when they have kidney disease?
Yeah, you don't want to, if you find protein in your urine, you've got kidney disease, and that's not good. So if they have protein in their urine, and they're willing to go on a plant-based diet, many times the amount of protein in the urine will decrease, and the kidney function will improve.
Is it a sign when the urine is very yellow, is a lot of protein?
What?
When the color of the urine is yellow.
You can't, no, when the color of the urine is yellow, you haven't been drinking enough water. You've got yellow urine, you need to drink more water.
Because of more.
That's not from the protein in the urine. So ideally, this is the type of food that you should eat, okay? You have fruits, you have legumes, you have cereal grains, and you have vegetables, okay? Now that shouldn't be white bread, that should be wholemeal bread, okay? Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, seeds in moderation. So if you eat meat, 10 times the risk of getting sick, okay? If you want to get sick, eat meat. Grains, fruits, nuts, and vegetables are the types of foods that you should eat. So the grains with fruits, nuts, and vegetables contain all the nutritive properties necessary to make good blood. If you only eat a totally plant-based diet, to be safe, I would encourage you to take a vitamin B12 supplement, okay? And that's very inexpensive and easy to get.
Why B12? Why B12 instead of other?
What?
Why do you choose B12 instead?
Because you don't find B12 in plant foods unless it's dirty. So if you're going to eat a total plant-based diet, you take vitamin B12, okay? Now, sometimes people say when they stop eating meat, they feel weak. Well, does that mean they need meat? No. They think that they need meat to make them stronger, okay? It is because foods that contain meat are stimulating. They fever the blood and excite the nerves that they're so missed. So when you stop eating meat for a few days, you may feel a little bit more tired, but that will all be gone within a week. So you're better off without the meat. Now, the higher up the food pyramid you eat, the more chemicals and pesticides. It takes 100 pounds of plants to produce 10 pounds of meat. So pesticides in the plants are concentrated in the flesh of the animals that eats the plants. Meat contains 14 times the pesticides in plants, and dairy products contain 5.5 times the pesticides. So again, soy milk, almond milk, nut milk, and plant foods, much better. A vegetarian diet can prevent 97% of all heart attacks. Okay? Okay, let me go back. You see, the other thing is if you eat meat, fish, and chicken, to raise the animals, they crowd them together, get a lot of animals in one place. There's lots of animal waste produced, and that pollutes the environment. That causes global warming. All the animal manure, the fecal matter of the animals decomposes, and that contributes more to global warming than driving many cars, okay? Now, vegetarians have a higher metabolic rate than meat eaters, so if you have to lose weight, it's easier to lose weight on a vegetarian diet. Vegetarians produce more norepinephrine. Norepinephrine is good because that helps you to feel satisfied, so you don't need to eat so much. Man's original diet, Genesis chapter 1 verse 29, a plant-based diet. God said, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. So again, you don't want to eat the blood. Don't eat the fat or the blood. Leviticus 3:17. If you eat the fat and the blood, your life will be shorter. So whoever eats it shall be cut off. So I showed you this earlier when we talked about heart disease. See, the people before the flood, they didn't eat meat. The average lifespan was 912 years. After the flood, God allowed people to eat meat. I want you to notice this. Noah lived to be 950 years of age. His oldest son was Shem. How come Shem lived 350 years less than the father? And his firstborn son lived 162 years less than the father. And you see how fast the lifespan went down after the flood? It's because people started to eat meat. Okay? Very clearly. Now this is an interesting statement by a lady who wrote lots of books. Her name is Ellen White. And she wrote this. And he, that's God, permitteth that long-lived race to eat animal food, to do what? Shorten their sinful lives. Soon after the flood, they began to rapidly decrease in size, how tall they were, and how old they lived to be. And that's what we see from the evidence we just looked at, okay? You see how fast the lifespan dropped off? Okay. So meat and the intellect. Students would accomplish much more if they never tasted meat. And I already told you the story about Daniel and the vegetarian diet. Those who use flesh meats freely don't have an unclouded brain and an active intellect. It is impossible for those who make the free use of flesh meats to have an unclouded brain and an active intellect. Okay? So, how many of you expect to see Jesus come? I'm expecting that he's going to come, and he's going to come very soon. And if we expect to be alive at that time, the food is going to be so diseased, I hope you've become a vegetarian. So, if you have less meat in the diet, what do we find? People live longer, they have less heart attacks, less prostate cancer, less ovarian cancer, less colon cancer, less diabetes, less obesity, they have greater physical fitness, and they have better off economically, and is better for your environment. Now this compares Adventist men who had diabetes and how much meat they ate. They're just looking at those who ate meat, what, less than 1 day per week versus those who ate meat 6 or more days per week. When I was a child, I ate meat 6 or 7 days a week, almost. So if I had diabetes, their rate of dying would be 3.8 times those who didn't eat meat. So you don't want to eat meat. Summary. Whole plant foods, okay? Eat healthy, low fat, low refined sugar, whole foods, plant-based, at regular times with nothing between meals to get to and keep your ideal weight, okay? 2 or 3 meals a day at regular intervals, no food between meals, only water, exercise, at least 30 minutes, 45 would be better. Get down to your ideal weight and avoid tobacco, alcohol, coffee, and tea. Your herbal teas are okay, but your regular Chinese tea, green tea, and black tea you should not use. Okay? Any questions?
Sorry, why the green tea and black tea no good? I don't quite understand.
Green tea and black tea have caffeine. You don't want to use caffeine, anything with caffeine. Remember I said temperance. Temperance, no alcohol, no tobacco, and you want to avoid beverages with caffeine. Caffeine, more irregular heartbeats, cardiac arrhythmias.
Coffee and all that.
Yeah.
But tea also have.
Tea, caffeine has tea, if it has tea. Caffeine raises the blood sugar, it raises the cholesterol, and it makes it harder for people to sleep.
You know, Singapore, the Health Promotion Board is equivalent like FDA, Food Promotion Board. They say the green tea is good for us, but I don't.
Well, I disagree with them, okay? I know more than they do about that.
So,
Okay? Any other questions? Green tea and black tea are no good. They come from a plant called Camellia sinensis, and they have caffeine in it. The so-called benefits you can get from green tea, you can get by living a healthful lifestyle. You don't need to take green tea.
Camellia was Camellia. You see, green tea has Camellia something. What is the spelling? Camellia. How do you spell it?
Camellia sinensis is the plant that tea comes from. Just put it on Google. Go to Google.
I know.
Say, well,
Camellia. CAN.
ILA. I'm not sure. I'll look. You just look it up in Google. Put it in Google. Camellia sinensis. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Finished.
Thank you very much. Let's give Mr. Opening a round of applause again. Very good.
I think